Forgot to unpause.
That's okay. Nothing exciting happening yet in this meeting, so.
Oh.
I don't know if she'll be able to see that as a chat, but
Yeah. And Heather's supposed to phone in, right?
don't know. Did she say that? I didn't see her
I think.
response.
She said, I may be driving, but I will attend via phone.
Okay. So she'll.
So I don't know what time our classes go till. So maybe she's just, getting out.
Wrapping up.
Yeah. There's nothing I can do as the host to help Virginia's audio, can I?
I don't think so. I think she just has to dial in. I can text her.
Yeah, let me see if I.
Okay. See if she gets that.
Did you have any budget requests in the last subcommittee meeting?
Not specifically. So, but we had talked about, essentially approaching, well, to ask Ryan about what a budget, how to put together a budget request if we had one. So I wanted to float that with the charge committee and, get the input on if there's anything specific, but, really at this point, we just want to know if it's possible and what that might look like as part of the budgeting process this year. Well, I'm a little bit. This is the meeting that just doesn't want to happen after 3 months. It seems like it's a challenge. So
Yeah, we could try for a special meeting.
yeah, maybe we should try and do that. I can send a note around and see when folks are available.
There's Heather.
Oh,
Sorry, I was late. I hurried.
hey, Heather, no worries.
How are you?
We're actually still waiting to see if Virginia can connect her audio. She's here, but can't hear us. So without that, I don't think technically we have a quorum, even though it doesn't count if you can't hear, I suppose. So
Did she go out and come back in? Sometimes that helps for me.
she hasn't, but she can't. I don't think she's seeing my texts or my. Oh, there.
Oh.
Try it. Maybe,
Yeah.
or maybe she'll try and call back in. Maybe she saw my text. So we'll give that. How are you doing, Heather?
I'm doing really well. Thank you. And you?
Good, good. All right, hanging in there.
I do want to tell you something since we haven't like formally started, right? Like,
Yes, yep.
I just wanted to tell you that as a person, I'm kind of fiery, I think. Sometimes and I think that there's a time and a place for that. And I think it serves me well. And sometimes, especially in my profession, we need to be more fiery. But I also think that there are limitations to that. And I really value, Glenn, your leadership style, because I don't find you fiery. And I don't find you like a passive pushover either, but I really, I learn from your leadership style of like introspection. And I don't know, I always keep meaning to tell you that. I value what I learned from you, even though you may not know that you're teaching me.
Well, thank you, Heather. I did not expect that this evening, and I appreciate it. It's nice to hear. I think we're all on a learning curve of how to be a part of collaborative efforts and to lead, and so sometimes I'm both Midwestern and Japanese American, and those combine to be someone who's by nature very not fiery. So sometimes I regret that I don't have a little more of that, but then sometimes I try and lean into it and just be all right.
Where are you from in the Midwest?
This is who I am. I was born in Michigan, so
Okay.
yeah. So yeah. But I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, did any word from Virginia?
No, I haven't heard anything. Did she text you back by any chance?
Didn't. Must be some audio visual. Well, we technically don't have a quorum, so Heather, I guess we can't vote on anything, but we can certainly chat a little bit about different ideas for the subcommittee going forward this year. On our agenda, there was 2 action items. One is the approval of the minutes, which we can't do, but that's not a big deal. The other was the approval of the schedule, which is also not a huge deal, although, I guess how does it work, Monica? It's like it's a tentative schedule until we approve it, or?
So yeah, the chair can send the approved schedule, and then basically if we want to change that, we can change it in one of these meetings.
Okay.
It's a little backwards. I don't think we're supposed to necessarily, but it's like it
Yes.
works as long as it works for the rest of the committee too.
Okay, yeah, and as a subcommission of a commission, the stakes aren't super high on that. Okay, so that's good. And then the other few items, right, 2 were just kind of informational or something for us to think about and talk about. One was around the refugee resettlement, which we had weighed in on before the end of the year and provided some guidance to the town. But in recent weeks, that's come back around. There's a couple of families who are really, there's one family in particular who is inbound in February. And the Quiet Corner Refugee Resettlement is looking for housing, and the town is trying to support along with the university and others. And so just thinking about how we want to be involved with that. You know, and if and I need to touch base with Ryan about this a little further, but you know, one of the things was we had recommended that the town set up a kind of standing meeting of different stakeholders, you know, to talk about both the refugee issue, but then the broader issue of newcomers and making Mansfield a welcoming community. And so we could request to have somebody on that that group if it convenes. And this would be a question not just for this subcommittee, but for the whole commission, if there was somebody who wanted to join those conversations. So that was one thing I wanted to flag for us.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's really important that we are doing this work, or at least keeping it kind of in the front, because I do think that it addresses some of the things that we wanted, you know, in terms of making our community more inclusive. You know, that includes bringing in people who are very different than us, being comfortable with that and learning how to deal with that. But you know, on a humanistic level, I mean, isn't this what we should be doing? And isn't this what our community should be focused on? You know, I feel like it is.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, you know, what it is that we should be doing or what we can be doing. But I'm glad that it's on the agenda, and I'm glad that it's at least part of our discussion. And I would, you know, I think that sometimes there's so much tension between the town and the university.
Yeah.
And I get it. There are things that the university does that I don't like, but in general, I moved here I enjoy being in a town that,
I understand, yeah.
You know, I mean, there are definite benefits as well. And I think that this is a way that the town and the university could really come together to do something to support refugees. And I don't know, I wish we could figure out a way to house them in Mansfield. I don't know how, am I allowed to just have a little space to mention some stuff here? I don't want to like monopolize, but I volunteer as part of QCRR, and the very first family we brought in, I want to say it was 4 years ago now. I you know, because of COVID, time is like,
right.
It makes sense to me. But because I'm an Arabic speaker, I can help in translation and things like that. So the first 3 families we resettled were Syrian families. And so that was, I enjoyed that, you know, I could help out. The first family that we settled as part of this new organization we formed, QCRR, we housed in Mansfield on purpose, although we are, I mean, it's a community of, you know, from many towns, many organizations came together. Many religious organizations, in fact, came together to form this. But we chose to rehome them in Mansfield because of the schools, because of the opportunities, because of UConn, because of so much that we have here that we wanted to share. And it was, and I don't want to say an absolute disaster, but it was, you know, we were learning, it was our first family anyway, you know, so learning the different things we have to do. But we, you know, the father, you know, we never know who's coming.
Sure.
The father of the family had some health concerns, big kind of major health issues, which is fine. But part of that, he had a difficult time ambulating to walking around. So they also don't have driver's license when they first get here. That's part of what we do to help them move forward. So public transportation they needed, which, you know, we don't have in Mansfield. I mean, it's real limited. So like even to even though he wasn't too far from 195, it was still far enough that walking, especially in the winter and everything, up to 195 to try to catch a bus was just not an option, and things like that we really learned. So now we put families in Willimantic because of lots of accessibility issues.
Right.
I wish it didn't have to be that way. Why can't we welcome them into Mansfield? This is what we want to be doing as part of this commission. We want to be welcoming people who are different, who may have mobility challenges, who speak a different language. I think we're missing a really great opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and welcome, Virginia. I see it looks like you're on and got your audio working. So we are now fully a quorum. So it's now an official meeting. So that's good. And just, yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, Heather. I think that's absolutely right. And obviously, there is a real urgency and an importance to resettling Afghan refugees right now. And, the town is on record as wanting to do that. But as part of that effort, part of what we're doing, obviously, is thinking about issues that affect more than just refugees, newcomers of all sorts, as well as, as you said, with the question of accessibility for people with disabilities, that's a concern that affects a wide range of folks. And so it would seem like collaboration on this issue brings together groups of people to address issues that are really going to touch a lot of the things that we think of as key human rights issues in
Yeah, I really agree,
Yeah, so for that reason, I think it's a good thing for us to be involved with. I guess, again, I don't think it should just be this subcommittee or the members even of the subcommittee who are on right now. So we'll raise it at the next full commission. But Heather, maybe you can also speak to it there too. I think, what you've said about your experience is really important. So yeah, so I will, I'll follow up with Ryan. I've got a couple of things I want to touch base with him on, see where that's at. And then, at our next meeting, let's
yeah,
see if there's
I mean,
to volunteer.
it also touches on, the housing issues.
Well, yeah. Totally, right? I mean, that is
we don't have affordable housing for, people who want to live in our community.
Yeah, no, that is definitely the kind of linchpin issue that and also, obviously the source of one of the points of friction with the university, which again might be a good opportunity to work together on something that's focused on a specific issue that everybody says the university is committed to supporting Afghan refugee resettlement as well. So, and that may open the door then for some sort of more productive relationship on that front too.
Yeah, I mean, imagine all the benefits that the university would benefit also. Well, the university could potentially get grant money for that. There's opportunities that, that would benefit the university in addition to just doing the right thing,
Exactly.
And there's benefits for the town, countless, of course, as anytime.
Yeah. No, I mean, all the data out there suggests that towns that are welcoming and have a large immigrant population are thriving places, right, compared to others. And I think that's particularly true in rural places, right? Rural parts of the country have been on decline for many, many years. And there's a group that I connected the town to and they applied to, and I think we're part of the cohort, which the other part is called Welcoming America. And they have a rural towns initiative that supposedly we're now a part of, and they have benefits for, thinking about how to do this. So I think for all the reasons you've said, now's the time for us to address this.
And the other thing to remember is that QCRR is like a local chapter. I don't know how you would,
right.
We're part of IRIS. IRIS is really the one who, we don't have to necessarily fund the families. We don't have to, but we have to have volunteers and provide structure and be able to say that we're going to meet this goal and this goal and this goal. But as part of IRIS, and their functioning in refugee resettlement, we don't know who we're going to get. Like, you know, our first 3 families were Syrian, but you know, the nature of them being refugees means that they're persecuted in some way. So in order, you know, if we would say we're only going to take refugees from X, Y, or Z, that would be further, you know, persecuting some people. So right now, I mean, we know that there are Afghan or refugees from Afghanistan who are waiting and in the queue and trying to get here. But that doesn't mean that once we say we're ready, that doesn't mean that we couldn't get refugees from Peru or who knows, you know, where. So, and it kind of speaks to diversity and, you know, yeah, we may right now get a lot of refugees from Afghanistan, but we may also get refugees from North Korea. Who knows, you know?
Right. Yeah. I know. I think that's right. And so, you know, having a broad policy of welcome and a preparation to receive different kinds of people with different kinds of needs, as well as different kinds of assets and skills, right, and capacities is where we want to be. So, okay. Well, you know, again, I don't know that there's a big decision for this committee to make on that, but let's forward that. Let's keep it on the agenda because I think it's good for us to talk about it and make sure that's a space we want to be involved in. Backing up quickly now that we have a quorum. So just quickly, you know, 2 items to approve. The first one is the minutes from our last meeting, which happened to have been in October of 2021. So any changes, amendments to the minutes from?
Are you sure it was October? Didn't we have one in November and canceled December?
Looks like we ended up canceling both. The November one was close to Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And then
that time
one was close. So, you know, obviously we've continued to meet as a full commission, and so, you know, there's been that. So, but any changes, amendments, we're all good. Okay, so those are now approved. It's in the books. And then the second thing is to approve the meeting schedule for this year. Continuing on with meeting on the third, the 4th Tuesday of the month at 6:30. Does that generally still work? Okay. Okay, so we've approved those 2. Good. So we've now had a real meeting, and we'll have real minutes, and we've done real business. So okay, so back to the regularly scheduled agenda. Well, I skipped over reports or comments. If anybody has any, Virginia, Heather, anything to?
Nope.
How about you, Derek? Do you have anything you want to report out on as our?
Well, yeah, honestly, not at the moment, no.
It's all right. It's early in the year. We're just getting started. So, okay. So so we talked about the refugee resettlement newcomers. So 2 other items. I'm going to skip B. Let's save that for the last thing. I'll just mention for C. Raised the last commission meeting that the town is in budget season, right? And they're doing budgeting, and we had the thought that maybe we wanted to request a budget from the town for some of our activities, since we have been very active, particularly compared with other commissions and committees, and some of the work that we do, right, obviously has a benefit for the whole town and meets some goals. So I'm not exactly sure how the budget request process works. So that's the other thing I need to consult with Ryan about. But I wanted to see, you know, one, what folks' thinking is on whether that's a good thing for us to explore, and then 2, to just plant the seeds. We don't have to have that specifically now, but you know what it is we might request as part of this.
Can we request honorarium or, speakers fees? Do we have to know exactly who we're going to pay it to, or can we like request a certain amount for, bringing somebody?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know, but I'll ask that, as part of it, like how detailed does the request have to be in specific?
Mm.
Okay, any other thoughts on that? Again, I don't necessarily have the information to say how to move forward, but again, I hope at our next full commission meeting, we'll be able to identify a few key items. I'll know the process a little more. We can identify a few key items, and then we can submit that request. So just be thinking about that.
Can we request like a budget for like advertising? Because I would like to, I think that people are becoming more aware of who we are, but I think it would be nice to, kind of our work out there a little bit more. And also in terms of, if we are going to have a follow-up survey, for marketing, advertising, and making sure that more people have access to that survey,
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I think, and obviously the other committee on outreach and communications was thinking about that
Right.
too, in terms
Right.
of,
Forgot.
events like Juneteenth, right, which is kind of now likely to be a signature Human Rights Commission event. We've got the mural, now the recognition, and so what might we do with that was significant. But then also, you're right, the survey, I think there's a lot of desire to not just do that as a one-off, but to continue to refine it, so that we can learn about what's happening. So I will add that as well to the idea of how we might go about that.
And Monica, do you know, like, what kind of money are we talking about? Are we talking about $200, or are we talking about $10,000? Like, ballpark.
I'm not sure because budget line items do increase or decrease based on what has been used last year too. Tasha would be the one to know those things. She's the one who would manage something like that. I'm happy to ask her to see what that could be.
I just need to know how big I need to dream.
Yeah.
I
think the rumor, and this is very rumor-esque, is like there was like maybe 5 to 10 in there the last time we knew, but it's for all committees. So
yeah.
But again, that was like, that could have been something that someone was saying just as a, oh, well, that's about what we have, I think, I don't know.
I mean, my attitude often in these things is like, ask for enough, like do like, don't start making your own cuts to yourself, but also make it a serious one. Like you would actually do those things if you had that money. Right.
So the hot tub is out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Maybe a sauna, right?
Okay. All right. Scale it down.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So, right. It's like, I will guarantee they won't give us everything we ask for. So, we don't want, if we ask for 500 and then they give us 300, and we could have asked for 5,000 and they give us 3,000, then, you want to ask for 5,000. So, anyway, so I'll find out more and we'll, have this as a fuller, more informed discussion as the full committee, but, we should have our wheels spinning. And as that goes into, I think, our last point, which is to say, so, the work of this subcommittee focused on the town charge, which I take to be broadly the more policy focused work of the commission, as opposed to the outreach and engagement work, which is the other part. What is it? Are there things we want to set for ourselves as goals for this year, or activities that we want to accomplish? What's on people's minds as things they would like to do?
Well, did the town ever talk about our survey? I attended that meeting, but I had to leave, and I think you had to leave, but I think they didn't get to it.
Yeah, I mean, it was in the communications, so it wasn't on the talking agenda. And, you know, obviously the council members can always raise something, but no one opted to do that, given how full the agenda is. So, so the answer is no, I don't think they ever did. So, you know, we have not, I think, gotten everything we can out of that survey.
Yeah. I think we need to keep that on our radar to continue to, you know, look at those findings and to make sure that the town knows what, I mean, you know how it is when you, I mean, we're overloaded with information. They may not have really even looked deeply at our report, you know. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, you know, they've got lots to think about. So I think we should at least, you know, have a discussion with them, or, you know, whatever. And then I think we should plan next steps, whether that's another survey this year, maybe it's too soon, I don't know, but maybe it's, you know, we have to go through those steps of, you know, refining the survey, making sure that it's a little more meaningful this time, you know, from the things we learned, you know, the questions that we need to kind of adjust, things like that.
Yeah, I think that's right. So to revise it, you know, obviously you don't want to change it totally, because part of what we want to do is kind of track trends, but there's definitely improvements that could be made. And I know that the Communications and Outreach Committee is also talking about, like, how can we use the survey in that communications and outreach too. But certainly as far as policy goes, I don't think that we've gotten that. I do know that Councilmember Shuren read and reviewed it, because he reached out specifically on a point about the categorizing Jewish as an ethnic identity rather than a religious identity. And so I pointed him to Jane, whose insistence on that was the reason why it ended up that way.
I remember that. It got a little heated.
I
remember that.
Yeah. Well, so you know, obviously, you know, our two Jewish members, Jane and Karen, had different views on that, and
right.
So, but I think that to me was an indicator he read it closely, right?
Yeah.
He's noticing that
Nice. Yeah.
that broke out, so that was good. But yeah, so there's probably more there. Okay, and then the follow up. So. How about you, Virginia? What's on your mind? What are you thinking about for the year?
I have some thoughts about celebrating Juneteenth. I've read a lot of books about it lately, and next meeting I'll come prepared with some actual ideas.
Great. Yes, please do. So I think obviously we do want to make the most of that occasion.
It was really fascinating to hear it from a historical perspective.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like I've got a few things to connect with Ryan on the refugee resettlement, the budget, and then the survey. And then we're all primed with ideas about next steps for things we can do. Much of which we'll raise in the full commission. But I think that as far as I'm concerned, we've reached the end of the agenda. Does anybody have anything else they want to add or discuss at this point? All right. Okay, well, let's call it an evening then.
Great.
Well, thank you, everyone. It was nice to see you. And we'll see everybody in a couple weeks at the full commission meeting.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.